Alright, it's basically almost been a week since I've last uploaded a video, and I have a good reason for it. You see, well, I've been basically trying to work on school, and at the same time, I'm also working on Kratos. That's right, people. That's right, people. We're finally getting an update for Kratos. Essentially, what's going on is that I'm making a movie for that. What if? I have to split that movie into two parts, though. And yeah, with that being said, I'm also going to be working on some other projects as well, whether it be some more of Mephisto, Malim, or some new projects as well. You guys will just have to wait and find out. Also, I would also like to thank Neptune for helping me with this script. This is basically like the last script that I've fully scripted. Well, like instead of like just doing bullet points from now on. And she actually did help with like finishing up this script as well for this what if. So be sure to thank her in the comments, and yeah, maybe go and check out the link in the description, being the link to her channel. If you want, you guys can also check out our content, and maybe if you guys are interested, you can subscribe to see more. Anyways, time to roll that intro. Naruto Uzumaki was what you could consider to be an average, rumbustious child. Well, besides the fact he often ended up being shunned by the villagers, he never understood why the villagers hated him so much. As far as he was concerned, he had done nothing wrong up until that point. He was kicked out of the stores. People would turn their faces away from his direction as soon as their eyes met. He would also hear whispers from the villagers from time to time as well. Something about a demon or something. He didn't know what that was all about. Naruto was incredibly lonely throughout the years. Not even Hiruzen was much help. Sure, he was able to get him an apartment and pay for his rent, but he had little money left to get food. For whoever didn't just throw him out of their shops, they would just raise the price on all of their items just for Naruto. He never understood why, but he always hated it. Even when he tried helping a girl against her bullies, he ended up regretting trying to be the hero in that instance. He was ganged up against and he was losing until something happened. Something unusual. His rage and frustration from all he had experienced up until that moment had reached its boiling point. A red aura began to envelop Naruto. Once the bullies saw this, they grew fearful and fled the scene immediately. Right after, Naruto fell unconscious. He was breathing heavily. Hinata checked his temperature and realized he was burning up. She wanted to help him, but her guard came and grabbed her, informing the young Hyuga to stay away from the kid. She didn't know why though. He protected her, and in return, she was running away in his time of need. It didn't matter in the long run though. No one knew, but this was an integral moment for Naruto. He found himself in what looked like some sort of sewer. He looked around trying to figure out to where exactly he was. Any specific drawings would have been really helpful at that moment, considering the graffiti artists that would usually be down here. But instead, Naruto found himself staring at a giant gray being. They looked like a mountain in both size and appearance, gray outer layer and a pink inner layer. They were spiky too. Overall, they were terrifying to Naruto. He freaked out seeing what could only be described as a monster. They tried calming Naruto down though and attempted to explain themselves. It took a while for Naruto to relax. Even when he did calm down, he was still a bit on edge. He didn't know what this creature would do to him. So it would be best for him to be prepared for any funny actions made by the monster. The more the three-tailed beast explained themselves though, the more Naruto relaxed himself. Their name was Asuba, and they weren't a bad beast by any means. They just weren't that great in terms of human interaction. It was kinda hard considering humans were so small in comparison. Asuba, Asobu was a giant rocky beast. They weren't here to make any enemies. They just wanted a friend. They had been through many Jinchuriki throughout the years, and almost none of them were willing to actually try and reason with him. Instead, they only ever saw him as a power source or something that needed to be contained. Naruto felt bad for the creature. He could relate on a certain level. The villagers always held a prejudice against Naruto since the day he turned 4 years old. Asobu was treated like a wild animal simply because of what they were. It was cruel in Naruto's eyes. He didn't want to be like any of Asobu's former hosts. He walked over to the giant turtle and stretched out his hand. You know what? Let's be friends and make a promise to each other. This promise being that we'll never treat each other like how the rest do. We'll always be good to each other, and this handshake will seal the deal. Naruto stated, one issue. Isobu emphasized how their legs were formed. Oh, right. Fist bump then. It was from there that their fates were sealed, the best of friends from that day onward. This is where the changes would start to settle in for Naruto. Well, for all extents of purposes, has a lot of changes he actually would have studied in this timeline. He wouldn't have actually be pulling pranks or committing highway robbery. He would also have a more balanced diet. He would have been eating more than just ramen. He would have also trained more with Isobu being the one to actually coach them. They would have actually been Naruto's sensei in a sense for the upcoming years. Naruto ended up learning a series of jutsu, and he would have gained a better chakra control thanks to the influence of Isobu. For some reason, Naruto seemed to be very attuned to water and wind-related jutsus. Naruto wasn't sure why, but he wasn't really complaining. These jutsus would put him at the top of the class after all. Naruto wanted to be Hokage, and the Hokage had to be the very best. The best! Like no one ever was. Please don't copyright me. Naruto wouldn't have actually failed school in this timeline. Instead, he would have actually graduated in one try. Another thing that would have changed here is with Mizuki. Mizuki wouldn't have been able to actually convince Naruto to steal the scroll of sealing, and instead he would have probably tried to have another person do it instead. But Mizuki would have been caught in the act, unfortunately. For him, that is. Naruto would have already attained the other form of clones though, the illusionary clones. Naruto would make sure to spend 2 extra years training with Asobu before enrolling into the academy. By the time he did graduate, he ended up being one of the top Mike students in most things besides, well, book smarts. Naruto was decent in that category, not the best or worst when it came on to the knowledge of shinobis, but he was decent. That's all that mattered. In the physical portion, Naruto practically dominated. The only one who could really give Naruto any form of challenge was Sasuke Uchiha, and even then, those were only a couple of occasions. While Naruto had Asobu, Sasuke, well, he had Itachi. Then the massacre happened. He still graduated and became a member of Team 7 at the same time, along with, of course, his rival Sasuke Uchiha and, well, Sakura Haruno. But something else would happen. Instead of Sakura actually being part of Team 7, she would have been switched out for Hinata Hyuga. Hiruzen would have realized the potential of these genin being together in one team. Naruto Uzumaki, the Jinchuriki of the Three Tails, Hinata Hyuga, the Hyuga Heiress and wielder of the Byakugan, and Sasuke Uchiha, the only survivor of the Uchiha massacre committed by his older brother Itachi. It made sense for Sasuke to be paired up with Kakashi Hatake, considering the fact that a man had the Sharingan himself, so he could teach Sasuke on how to use his own whenever the boy unlocked it. Hinata Hyuga was a wielder of the Byakugan, and he figured that under Kakashi's tutelage she could learn an incredible amount of skills that she wouldn't have learned under any other jonin, or while only learning from the Hyuga's martial arts. Naruto was an interesting case considering Kakashi's connection to Naruto's father. He only found it right for the only living member of Minato's genin group to teach his son, a passing of the flame, you could say. When they met up with the new sensei, the kids were mostly neutral, with Asobu just thinking how awkward this would be. But Kakashi, when realizing who these children were and what their abilities were, Kakashi would have realized what Hiruzen was thinking of when he decided to pair Sasuke up with him. It was a bit odd to pair Hinata Hyuga with him, but she seemed to be a bright student going by her test scores. She was also a capable fighter, but appeared to have confidence issues, judging by how she was fiddling her fingers and looking down so much. He froze when he saw the head of blonde hair. So many memories flashed by in that one moment. Fire, speed, Rin, wars! He almost lost his composure at that moment, but he was knocked back to reality by Sasuke making a comment on how he was late. Kakashi attempted to play it off as thinking how he wanted to start things off, and took them up to the rooftop and claimed he wanted to start with icebreakers. Now, Naruto, why don't you tell us your likes, dislikes, and goal? Kakashi said, trying to calm down without them noticing. I like ramen, water, and turtles. I hate people who act like they're big shots or hurt others for no good reason. As for my goal, it's to become Hokage. Kakashi deduced most of that already, but he went on to ask Sasuke the same question. My likes? None of your business. My dislikes? Also, none of your business. My goal: to find a certain someone and make them pay. Charming. What about you, Hinata? Kakashi said, trying to ignore the edge oozing off of Sasuke. Well, she blushed as she looked at Naruto, fiddling her fingers once again. I dislike bullies, and my goal is to become a strong Kunoichi, strong enough to protect all of those who can't fight for themselves. Kakashi smiled and told them to meet up with him the next day in the outskirts of the village before dipping. Naruto heard the part about not eating before their training the next day, but he wasn't necessarily the greatest listener. Isoba had to remind him not to eat, since this was probably going to be an important lesson he'd learned from his sensei. Naruto was forced to listen, and just like that, everybody arrived. Starving the next day, Kakashi raised his hand, revealing 2 bells. Apparently, the goal here was to capture at least one of the bells from Kakashi, or else they'd face severe punishment. When Hinata mentioned the fact there were only 2 bells, so Kakashi explained further that one of them would actually be going back to the academy. This was survival of the fittest. After hearing that, they were shocked, but except Naruto here doesn't try to go before being told start. Well, to put it lightly, this would basically be completely different from how it was in canon. It wouldn't have been such an easy fight for Kakashi in this timeline. Although Naruto didn't necessarily have the Shadow Clone Jutsu in this timeline, he did have the illusionary clones at his disposal. That, and he didn't have a good set of water jutsus. Naruto was actually useful, unlike a certain trash bag. I apologize to all trash bags out there, since you're actually useful, unlike a certain nobody. Hinata was able to use a Byakugan in order to see farther distances and locate their sensei while not having to get close. Therefore, they could set up traps for him while leading him to their location. Sasuke, although he hadn't unlocked his dojutsu as of yet, was still a capable ninja. He had fire-related jutsus and knew how to handle weapons in battle, especially kunai. With that being said, he was still roughly the same level as Kanon, if not slightly weaker. This would be because of the fact that Naruto and Sasuke at this point wouldn't have that same sort of hatred towards each other. Naruto would have simply minded his own business, and as a result, Sasuke would end up getting tied to the stump in place of Naruto. In this timeline, Naruto would be crouching on said stump. While Sasuke was tied to the stump though, he was forced to see the other 2 eat right in front of him. It made the stomach growl, and Natsu sighed, and she would offer him some of their food. She knew that their sensei told them not to feed him, and she didn't particularly like him all that much, but she was a kind spirit. She didn't like seeing others suffer. Naruto ended up offering some of his food as well. This especially meant a lot, coming from Naruto, considering how he was on the more greedy side most of the time for food. After they would finish eating and feeding themselves, Kakashi would appear out of nowhere and start to walk towards them, slow clapping, seeing the fear in their eyes. "Well done. You pass," he said nonchalantly. Their eyes would widen. Hinata was about to speak on the fact he didn't get the bells though, but Kakashi shut that down before it could even be said. He explained that the test wasn't about the bells at all. It was whether or not they could act like a team, and by feeding their comrade, although it went against Kakashi's orders, those who abandoned their comrades were even worse than scum. And clearly, they would not abandon their teammate. They smiled as they went home, but for the next few weeks, they slowly began to lose it because they all came to the same conclusion separately. They were bored out of their minds with these sort of missions that they were getting. They thought being a ninja was going to be all about stealth, intelligence gathering, and beating people up, not just walking dogs and looking at pigs. Eventually, they all came to a collective consensus, and that was that they needed to address this to Kakashi. Although they were expecting some conflict with their sensei, he surprisingly agreed. He said that they did deserve a higher ranked mission, and that he would actually talk to the Hokage about it. It was a success for the Hokage as well, and they were able to get their hands on a C rank mission. Carry a bridge builder back to the land of waves. Naruto was internally cheering to be able to do this, and they met up with the bridge builder the next day. Naruto wouldn't verbally harass the builder like in canon either, so they would begin to set off just like that. Naruto, Sasuke, and Hinata would walk with their sensei and the bridge builder. Kakashi decided to have a bit of small talk with their client during the process. That was until Naruto noticed something in their area. A puddle. When it hadn't rained here for weeks. Right, totally legit. Kakashi Sensei, we kinda have a problem. He was cut off as two ninja attempted to jump him from the puddle, with Naruto barely being able to dodge. Naruto quickly got his head back into the game and went on to try and fight the pair of enemy ninja. Sasuke sent a fireball jutsu at the two. Hinata ran forward and began to tap at their chakra points. She shut them down in a quick succession, and Kakashi was able to land a finishing blow on the two. A pressure point hit for the two of them. Tazuna whistled, impressed, but Kakashi had something else on his mind. What were two enemy ninja doing here of all places? Wasn't this a C-rank mission? Then again, seeing how these kids fought for what seemed like their first time made Kakashi think that Hiruzen had something behind all of this. He could be wrong though, so it would be good to ask the bridge builder as well. The bridge builder explained he kinda downplayed the request as a simple escort without revealing the fact that Mist didn't want the bridge that could basically open it up to the land of fire being built. Kakashi thought about it for a moment. By all right, they had a good reason to leave the mission, but the Genin probably wouldn't like that, would they? He asked them if they wanted to continue the mission with this new information. Naruto cheered, giving his answer. Kakashi looked over to Sasuke, who had his arms folded, looking over to the side. He gave a slight nod, though. He focused on Hinata, and she also agreed. Anyways, yeah, I'm going to be stopping it here for now. Basically, I know it may have come off as a bit weird at times. This is because of the fact that I was trying to actually do a bit of co-writing with Neptune for this certain What If. And basically, it was meant to originally be a collab, but things just kind of fell through, but they told me to still do the What If. And there's still a lot more left, but at this point I'm just too tired to record the rest, and at some points it just gets kind of confusing, with some jumping in and out of the current situation, and I already got a headache. This kind of just frustrates me from time to time. I'm hold up, where am I? Anyways, that's all I got for right now, Titan Clan. You guys already know what to do. If you like the video, of course, like if you like this video, maybe check out some more of my content. And if you guys like that content, you may as well maybe hit that subscribe button to see more from me. Maybe leave a comment and share the video to help with the algorithm, because I'm currently trying to do like a stacking of like a bunch of different what ifs, basically trying to like do like a bunch of plot points with different what ifs, so I can essentially just do like a bunch of recordings from there on. And yeah, that's basically all I have to really say. You guys already know what to do. It's your boy King X signing out.